Stephenson, paleolista. We were talking, and you mentioned something which I so agree with, and math also agrees when you do nutrient calculations, and that's, we hear 5 a day, fruits and vegetables.
Right.
Fruits and vegetables. 5 a day is not enough, but more important point, fruits are equated with vegetables. That is not accurate in my view. What do you think?
Totally agree. People think fruits and vegetables is as one group, so they just grab an, like we were talking about before, grab an apple, grab an orange, grab a banana. It's easy, there's no prep. The problem is, first of all, people end up eating way too much fruit. And they eat it at the wrong time of day with regard to, you know, sitting at your desk having a banana as a snack. So it's just too much sugar.
Absolutely.
And then they have next to no vegetables. Maybe they'll have a little bit of garnish at lunch and the salad at dinner, but that's just not enough. You want to be eating vegetables at every meal. And
also that, I think there's the key point there you mentioned is, don't eat fruits in place of vegetables. Like, they're not the same. And certainly I know people hear this and sometimes say, well, I mean, isn't it better to eat a banana than it is to eat a Snickers bar? And it certainly is, and whole grains are better than refined grains, and whole wheat, filtered cigarettes are better than non-filtered cigarettes. The key thing is, you know, what should we be recommending? What should we be aiming for? So it's like, what we should be aiming for is quite simple. It's that which offers the most nutrients, the most hormonal protection, and vegetables just really have that in spades, right? And even in fruits, there's definitely, just like there's high quality meats and low quality meats, and high quality fats and lower quality fats, there's some fruits are better than others, right? Like berries and citrus are better than some conventional super high fructose GMO apples.
Oh yeah, exactly. And the other thing people need to really think about is food timing and balance. So when you're talking about glycemic, if you just got back from a run or you're going on a hike, that's when you would want to choose a higher glycemic kind of a fruit, like a really ripe banana. But if you're having a little bit of fruit as part of a meal, you want to go with a more low glycemic fruit like a berry. So you know, right now this time of year, a handful of blueberries on top of your salad with chicken and avocado would be perfect. And
the thing to keep in mind also with fruits is, you mentioned people, it's easy to overeat them. Anything that, fruits are delicious, right? Like, this is wonderful, and they're a wonderful, sane and paleo-friendly dessert option. But to eat them, they're sweet, right? Just like sweet and fat. And next week we talk about fat. Anything that's got that really hyper palatable, just delicious. It's not to say that vegetables and proteins aren't. They absolutely can be. But when you eat fat in isolation, or you eat fruit, aka sugar, in isolation, just either one of those by themselves can quickly take you off track.
Exactly. I mean, a perfect example is, say you have somebody who used to go to McDonald's drive-thru on the way to work for breakfast, and they're trying to change their ways, and now they're going to Jamba Juice, and they're getting one of these giant juices made of just, you know,
apple juice, basically.
That's 700 calories of sugar. It's still, I guess it's better than a McDonald's breakfast, but that's going to send your insulin levels through the roof. If you're trying to lose weight, you're just going to be starving, because everything that you just drank was liquid sugar. So the far better option, if you wanted to do something liquid, was to, you know, do the example we talked about the other day with the Vitamix. Throwing everything in there to make a blended version of the whole vegetable and some fruit. But the point is, it can't be vegetables and fruit together, which is actually ends up being all vegetables and, all fruit and hardly vegetables. It's not the way to go.
I love thinking of sugar and even fat as icing on the cake. It is, I mean, certainly we don't eat icing or cake, but for example, like you talk about the smoothie, like you don't just want to eat icing. You don't just want to eat the apple. But if you really want something that tastes like an apple, if you were to take the apple and combine it with some protein, or combine it with some vegetables in the blender, like use it almost as a seasoning. Use it just like you would put maybe some tallow or some good butter on your vegetables to enhance them, but you wouldn't eat that butter or tallow on its own.
No, exactly.
Try not to just eat the fruit. Eat the fruit in combination with something else.
Exactly, and keeping that macronutrient balance. Aside from, you know, about before or after a workout, every meal has some carbohydrate, which is mostly vegetables, some natural protein, and some natural fat. So you're not going to have a meal which is all of one of those things.
And what has been your experience now? I've found with people I work with, people I hear from, that there's some people that are just more satisfied on a higher fat, lower sugar lifestyle, and there's some people that are more satisfied on a higher sugar, lower fat lifestyle. Have you seen that, or do you just generally recommend that more of a balanced approach?
I think it's definitely a balanced approach, and I think the latter example that you said, where it's higher sugar, lower fat, is what I'm actually not quite a fan of, because that, for most people, that takes us back to that mentality of low fat or fat-free eating, which got us nowhere, because when we had that explosion in the early 90s, along with that came the increased rates of type 2 diabetes and obesity, and that that's, don't even get me started on it. That's topic. We'll end up talking the whole show about that. But so I'm definitely more of a fan of higher fat versus what the conventional teaching would be. The My Plate recommendation, I think it's still too low in fat.
So you're really focused on nutrient dense
balance,
proteins, the highest fiber, lowest sugar fruits, the healthiest fats, and the most nutrient dense meats.
Exactly, and that's the key that I drive home all the time. Is the paleo lifestyle is all about balance. Balance with regard to each individual meal, balance with regard to the frequency at which we eat, and balance with regard to variety. So the more variety of each particular thing, the more variety of proteins, fats, and vegetables. Eat seasonally. Wherever you live, we're spoiled here because we were talking about in our other episode when you can get anything you want any time of year. But think about if it's December and it's I live in Los Angeles, so I actually can buy blueberries in December, but they've come from Chile and they're not organic. So doesn't it make more sense that at that time of year I should buy something that came from a local source right down the road and eat seasonally?
Yeah. Well, Nell, I know what I want to cover at our next chat, because you mentioned there that certainly fearing fat is a bad thing. And however, just like 40 years ago, people said all fat is bad and you should avoid all of it.
Right.
I think some may have swung the complete other direction, which is all fat is good, and you shouldn't think about it at all. You should just consume it willy-nilly.
Which is ridiculous. I mean,